Hello and welcome back to the MBA Cohort videocast. My name is Alex Miller, and today we have very special guest Kurt Kepshire joining us to discuss his MBA experience, his current role in healthcare, and where he sees the market going in the future. Please like, comment, subscribe, follow, and make sure you check out our website, thembacohort.com. Thank you and enjoy. All right, Kurt.
How you doing, buddy?
Doing all right. Thanks for coming on. Kurt Kepshire, MBA. So for a little context here, let's talk about when you finished your MBA. What year was that?
2017.
2017. And where'd you graduate from?
St. Leo University, a private school in North Tampa.
Was it online or in person? Let me ask you that.
It was a dual. So my core business classes took place in the classroom. My concentration in healthcare administration took place online.
Right. Okay. Kurt, let me ask you this. So you went to St. Leo. Was it right after college or what was the process of getting into the graduate?
Yeah, I probably took about 5 or 6 months off after I had finished my undergrad, enrolled into the MBA program. There were some perks that came with going to the same university that I did my undergrad in. I didn't have to go and take any of the, the post exams to get in. So I wanted to stay in Florida, and with my work being out there, this was the best route for me. So decided to enroll, got accepted, and then I started. I believe it was fall of 2015, or 2015.
And you said it was the right path for you. Can you explain why you chose to take an MBA path and how it's either shaped or improved your career?
I think the MBA program has given me opportunities that I feel, somebody with a general undergrad may not have. I was able to get into a pretty good internship program with a hospital in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. One of their requirements was that you had to have your MBA behind you. Same thing when I started, because I always wanted to go the healthcare administration route. That was ultimately the goal. I've since pivoted from that. We could talk about that, but I wanted to go the healthcare administration route. I knew by doing so that I needed to have the MBA, and I wanted to have the MBA. I wanted to understand more of business, economics, things that I felt were going to put me in the best position to succeed later on in my life and career. So, generally it was more of a career advancement. That's kind of how I looked at it.
Right. So you were going for the knowledge. You wanted the experience to take in the MBA knowledge. There's also the network involved. And it sounded like you were in class or out of class. Can you explain the value of your network during your MBA experience and how that might have played into a career shift down the line?
I think the networking helped when we were taking the online classes, because there would be, let's say group projects, for example, that would make you connect with your fellow classmates. And they were often intuitive-based projects, where you needed to meet as a group. You needed to develop and put together a strategy that, obviously made sense on the topic. So, that gave me an opportunity to meet, different individuals, those in their 30s and 40s with families, those that are, the same age as me. And I'm thinking, going back 22, 23 at the time. So, for me, it was a unique opportunity to get a sense of different people's backgrounds and get a feel for why they were trying to achieve that level of education. And the same, I think, you got a little bit of that inside the classroom, but it was more one-on-one with the teacher. I didn't come from a program that had 200 or 300 students in the classroom. It was small, very similar to like our high school, 20, 30 students. So you had that more one-on-one connection with the professors, which, I still keep relationships with them to this day. So I guess on a networking standpoint, that's helped me in my career.
Right. Intimate setting. You get to know each other a little bit better. Helps build relationships. So talk to me, you went through your MBA experience. You did half online, half in classroom. You get a job in Fort Lauderdale. Talk to me where you're at today. What is your current role? What hospital you're working at, and what's your day-to-day looking like today for you?
So I'm an assistant director of environmental services. I'm currently working at the University of Colorado Hospital in Aurora, Colorado. We're an 800-bed facility, level 1 trauma, the largest hospital in the state, one of the largest in the West Coast. Again, I was in healthcare administration. I had been let go on a reduction in force. They did a corporate RIF when I was an associate administrator, and kind of was looking for a new career avenue because I started getting the sense that the security that came along with being a hospital administrator isn't necessarily there. And I had a good friend of mine who was a director with environmental services. So they support anywhere from hazmat to, janitorial work to valet. They're in a number of different areas that they service. So I had a good friend of mine. He was a director. I reached out to him, kind of wanted to get some more information on the company, how he felt about it, pros and cons of the industry. And then based on my interview, my tour and orientation process, I felt it was the best move for me to make at the time, especially on a security standpoint.
Yeah, and you talk about, someone who was a director, coming back to the point of having that strong network to get you to your
100%. 100%.
And as a director of environmental operations, is that what it is?
It is, in a sense it is. Yeah, we deal with, we deal in, small sense with construction projects. We deal with, again, it's more janitorial, housekeeping. If you have a terminal clean, COVID, we've been a huge player during this COVID pandemic. Whether it's terminally cleaning a room after a patient discharge, whether it's working with hospital management to devise a strategy that is going to put the hospital in the best position to service their patients. So we kind of serve as the expertise when it comes to that realm, that industry. And we've made a lot of positive strides in our relationship with the hospital to make sure we are servicing the patients with the best cleaning products, the best people for the job.
Yeah, your role must have been crucial during these COVID times. So walk me through, and I'm sure you don't want to relive it, but walk me through kind of when it came to the peak, how it came down, what it's like today, where you see going in the future. Give me a synopsis of where your hospital is at dealing with this global pandemic.
I would say mid-March through till about the end of April was really our rough patch. We're dealing with anywhere from 150 to 200 confirmed COVID patients that are admitted to our hospital. When you do the math on that, a 750, 800 bed hospital, the percentage is quite high. We've started to see those numbers go down dramatically. I would say within the last 2 to 3 weeks. I think a lot of that has to do with the shelter in place orders the governor has put forward. I think a lot of it has to do with, again, I think just the hospital's, plans to keep the public safe. They restricted a number of visitors that could come. They restricted their facility hours. We're a 24-hour operation, but not for family members. You know what I'm saying? So we were able to, cut the volume that was coming through the hospital. And I think that's obviously showed positive trends in the number of COVID positive patients. We ceased our elective surgeries. So, about 2 months where we weren't doing elective surgeries in our outpatient clinic. We get anywhere from, 4,000 to 5,000 outpatient visitors a day, whether it's our cancer pavilion, our eye center, et cetera. So to shut that down for, 2 months, again, I think that obviously correlated with the numbers that we've been seeing in our drop of COVID positive.
It seems like there was a lot of different operations that had to happen, a lot of different procedures, cleaning, more equipment, more safety regulations. And from what you're telling me, it worked and the numbers are going down and the operation is more smooth because of these procedures put in place.
And our company, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Talk to me where the company's going.
We, in terms of expansion, or more so how we're servicing the specific hospital that we're in now?
Are all these procedures going to continue on, you think, or do you think they'll get?
Yeah, so we've since opened up business. Basically, we're starting to run at full capacity now. So elective surgeries have since been brought back. So one big thing that my company did, which is HHS, hospitality systems, they connected with UCHealth to, again, devise a strategy of, okay, well, what's the best course of action for terminally cleaning these rooms when a surgery takes place? What's the best course of action to disinfect your waiting rooms, your exam rooms, your doctor's offices? So, we met with the CEO, the COO, we met with clinical management, and again, we brought forward a strategy and a plan that we felt made the most sense. And by doing so, they decided, okay, it's time to open our doors. There's a plan in place where we feel safe to do so. And I think a lot of that came from the communication that our company had with the hospital.
And you talk about communication. How much of a pressure was on the hospital to do the right thing from the governor's mandates to the state? And what was that communication like internally with employees, with patients, with doctors, and all the confusion and angst that comes with these new regulations? How was your company able to deal with that, process it, and then put in an effective plan, as it sounds like you did?
So we're a not-for-profit organization. We rely heavily on donors. We really do rely heavily on the community in order for the hospital to be financially successful, as well as our company. At the end of the day, you hate to look at healthcare as a business, but it is. So when we were seeing our numbers really get impacted on a capacity standpoint, we knew that we really needed to team up with the, local law enforcement, local EMS. We needed to team up with, again, healthcare C-suite, the administrative side. And again, we got into a room, and we are, I should say, a webcam. Yep. And again, devise strategies that improved EMS side, law enforcement side, our side. And it was a collective agreement that if we can put all these processes in place, at least the ones that we could all agree upon, then we can not only meet with the governor's requesting, but then we could service our patients in a safe and productive manner. And that's ultimately what it came down to. We followed a lot of the guidelines that the governor had put out in regards to distance restrictions. So if you were to tour my hospital today, you'll see the 6 feet apart everywhere. The mandatory masks. Nobody is allowed into our facility unless they have a procedure mask in place or something covering their nose and mouth. So we have followed much of what the governor has put forth. In terms of like the surgery side, again, that was approved by the governor. Elective surgeries can now start opening back up. When that mandate came out, the leaders of the hospital got together and obviously, again, put together a plan to make that feasible for the organization.
So let me take you back a little bit. Going through your MBA program, I'm sure there was not a chapter on global pandemics, hospital operations.
No, there wasn't.
Can you think?
I missed that chapter. Yeah.
You didn't read that one. Is there anything from your MBA experience that you can pull from, whether it be a professor, a certain class, a certain classmate, that you can look back on and you're thankful or grateful for that you had it because it helped you in your new professional life?
If I were to take something out from whether a specific class or a specific professor, I would have to go with my economics class. And a lot of that stems from, again, understanding that everything has a bottom line at the end of the day. Whether you're for-profit or not for-profit, the numbers need to be there. And, for me to kind of understand things from opportunity costs to, just a general, operational expense report, being able to see that's changed everything. How our budget is now set up because of this pandemic, and what our staffing models need to look like in correspondence to what we're seeing on a census level at the hospital. So if I didn't have the economics class, if I didn't have the professor who I still have remained close with to go to and ask questions about, I may have struggled in that realm, understanding, well, where are we getting those numbers from? Why are we cutting 5, 10, 15 FTEs for a hospital that's a 24/7 operation? And that's where you start understanding the different sides of things, how the subsidy works, how the contract renewal process works. Having that economics class was huge for me. And that was a large reason why I wanted to get into the MBA program, because I wanted to have a better grasp on just general finances.
Right. It gives you a more holistic picture. It's not just healthcare. There's a business side of it. There's the medical side of it. There's a political side to it. There's a lot that goes into it. Wow. MBA is always described as a mile wide of learning rather than a mile deep. You kind of get a little bit of everything. And one of the parts of that learning that you get are the people and professors in your class. Talk to me about when you're at St. Leo, what were some of the networking events or initiatives that St. Leo put on or didn't put on that you wish they did that helps you connect with your classmates virtually or in person?
Alex, that's one thing I could say that St. Leo, I don't think, did a very good job on. I think that they needed to open up more workshops and fairs to get local businesses and communities into the college where that networking event could take place. My networking, took place more so with my fellow classmates and my professors. Were there workshops when I was during my undergraduate degree? Sure. But when I was in my MBA program, I thought they would have done more for the students to connect with corporate America, basically, and kind of work out a game plan to get into the workforce. I think a lot of the students after coming out of that MBA program were kind of gridlocked. I was fortunate enough to go into an internship opportunity post my master's degree, but I don't know if, my fellow students had that same opportunity. And I felt if they did more networking events with their local partnerships, again, they are a private institution, that it could have opened the door for, again, some of the classmates that I had the pleasure of working with. So I kind of wish there was more on that side.
Yeah. So Kurt, we talked about your network when you're going through St. Leo's, your classmates, and then you graduate, you move on, and you got your job in healthcare. Talk to me about how you stayed connected with your MBA classmates and what that cadence looks like today, now that you're a couple years out of your program.
More of a checkup. How are you doing? How's work? How are you holding up during this pandemic? Will I say it's frequent? No. But there are a few classmates of mine that I do remain close with, that I had my MBA program with and through. So a lot of it, there are some questions that are asked. Kurt, right now I'm invested in the stock market. That's something that I've always wanted to get into, and I'm glad that, again, I took a business course to kind of not make me an expert, but stronger in that field. And I have friends now that are that I had gone through the MBA program with, reaching out to me. Kurt, what's making you pick this specific position? What are you seeing in the market that's making you go that route? And that is conversations that I love to have, because anytime you can ask me something that I can help you with, I'm going to be inclined to do so. And I've extended that same courtesy to them. There's been things that I just don't know, in my own personal career, where I have reached out to them and have been able to get an answer that I'm looking for. So I think it's a great, it's been a great, again, LinkedIn being a great tool to piggyback off, one another, especially, again, my students that I took my master's class with, to get an idea of what we can do to better each other.
Yeah, it's interesting that you talked about your MBA program, how many different things you learned, whether it was economics, healthcare. Now we're talking about finance, talking about stocks. But again, that speaks to the broad range of knowledge that you get from MBA. Talk to me about your portfolio and what you're having in it. What do you see in the stock market going forward? And a caveat to that, is there a restriction to healthcare stocks that you can own by being a part of a healthcare facility?
Okay, so right now my current portfolio, Teladoc, which is currently a telemedicine company that has about 70% market share right now, both domestic and international. Citigroup, I'm sure you're familiar with Citibank and kind of the struggles that they've been dealing with through this pandemic. Boston Properties, which is a REIT, a real estate investment firm. So I've been heavily invested in them in the last couple months. And AT&T. AT&T, great company, been around for a long time, pays an excellent dividend. So for me as an investor, I typically look for two things: long-term growth, what their market capitalization is, And then, well, moving forward, what are they going to do to change the landscape of what they're currently in? Teladoc is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Telemedicine platform that is going to skyrocket. I hope anybody that listens to this will invest in Teladoc, because I really do see it as a platform that is very unique, very similar to an Amazon when they opened up, and then obviously just became the monopoly of the world. But I think Teladoc is in a great position to benefit specifically from this pandemic for future long-term growth. And then what was your other question? You had asked me another one.
Being a healthcare employee. So for me, working in finance, there's restrictions to if we can hold our own stock that we sell. Yeah. Is there any restrictions for you holding healthcare stock?
No. So perfect example, my cousin, JT Barnhart, Chief Executive Officer of a community health system, publicly traded company in Tennova, Cleveland, which is in Tennessee. And he has ownership stake in his company, Community Health System, as in part of his portfolio.
Right.
There's no restrictions to that.
That's it.
Just like a Jeff Bezos has, I don't know how many shares of Amazon.
Right.
It's the insider trading that obviously will get you in trouble. If JT was to share with me details or information regarding community health systems, and I use that to either short or spike the stock, then we might have a problem. But no, there's no regulation against an executive having some type of ownership stake, investment stake in the company that he services.
Yeah, and I see your portfolio kind of balanced out with Teladoc, software, and then AT&T communication, and both of those need to be hand in hand. Our communication systems have to keep up with our software because everything's becoming more virtual. Everything's becoming more.
Alex, I got to be honest with you, man. I think if you're an early investor or even somebody that's really been in it for a while, tech. I mean, just continue to take portions of your money. If you're fortunate enough to have a good salary or getting paid on a biweekly, monthly basis, use some of those funds and put it into an account. Whether it's a brokerage account, an IRA account, but 401ks are great. There's no question about it. It's a safety net. But 401ks will not make you the type of return that a safe mutual fund may make over time. Or again, if you're willing to take the risk on an individual position. So again, I'm no broker, but I recommend anybody to kind of get an understanding of the tech space and what it's going to do for us long term. Your Trade Desk, Netflix, Amazon, Google. Take a look into some of those companies and get an understanding of how they're going to, benefit us in the future.
Yeah, no matter what industry you're in, technology is going to have an impact one way or another, whether it's baseball, healthcare, finance, restaurants. I mean, software is going to have
baseball and sports all over the place. Our ball players are watching the laptops now, and it's just, the Microsoft Touch, Surface Pad. It's really, since we were in high school, it's really just, it's dramatically changed. So I can't, wait to see what the next 5 to 10 years has.
So I'll finish you up with this question. Will we have baseball this year? Live baseball, Major League?
I think if I was to give you an honest guess, I would tell you that they're going to start it post All-Star break. And it'll finish with, I don't know how many games they play after the All-Star break. I think it's anywhere from 70 to 80 games. I would expect them to have a second half season. I really do. You're starting to see moves being made now with the NBA to go to Orlando. I can see baseball following suit. And I'm praying that we have the NFL this year, or I'm going to go crazy over here, Alex. So.
Right. Big Dolphins fan.
Big Dolphins fan. Hey, Tua, I'm hoping for a productive career out of him in Miami. So
yeah, I don't know if I'm picking his stock.
Just stay healthy.
Stay healthy.
Yeah. So.
All right, Kurt. Well, thank you for joining us. We hope to have you back on. He's our healthcare expert.
Yeah, I would love to. I should put you in touch with JT, man. I think you would really like to pick his brain. He's a good person to talk to, and I think he could share a lot of insights on more of the executive healthcare route and space. So I'll be happy to pass that info on to you.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. The NBA Cohort is growing our network, seeing what value each member has, and how we can all work together to create a brighter future. What do you think about that?
I love it. I love it. Kind of an advertisement almost.